Here's a new piece of 8/4 by 7 inches wide by, I guess it's a little over 10 feet long, 10'7". Got it from Exotic Lumber. I'm going to use this to make bed logs. Over here is the remnants of another piece of 8/4 that I trimmed down to a little more than 1 3/4 for the pieces for the stem. This is quarter sawn, as is this piece over here. I'm just going to resaw that into 2 pieces about 7/8 and glue this to the bottom of this guy, which once I cleave it, I want to cut it in half. The other bed logs were just too much of a mess. And so here's the remnants of the slab sawn. Yeah, I guess it's like this. I cut this in half. I'm going to use this to try to keep this. I trimmed this down to the same thickness as this 8/4. It was already trimmed down quite a bit anyway. But look at this stuff. All this black. And it's pretty solid here, but the parts must have extended into the other. Here was this piece of damage that was there, and that clearly affected that other piece. So anyway, bed logs, take 2, and I'm going to glue to the bottom. I'm going to glue a piece to the bottom and cut it off at the bottom because I want the rabbet to be in solid wood. I'm not happy with. I got word back from New England Naval Timbers that they've got something for me, but I'm just not up for. I can't drive to Connecticut right now. I'm going to be going to New England later this summer, or in the summer, and I may pick up something from him, but. Anyway, we're moving on to a second phase. I've got a little more. It really shows up, doesn't it? Yeah, I got a little more trimming to do on this piece, and there's some snipe, and that's why I'm going to use these to keep the snipe at bay. And it's too heavy to manage. I barely got this done, and there's some. You can see there's plenty of, especially down there, some sapwood, less so down here. Beautiful medullary rays. So I'm probably going to take knock this off. I still haven't decided how I'm going to cut this. I may actually cut. If I can get this piece, I might just cut 2 4-foot sections out of the bottom and hold the 2-foot piece down there. But whatever I do is going to be to ensure the success of the piece rather than conserve wood. Here's the 2 in the middle are the quarter sawn 10-footer that I cut down to, I think, 50 inches. It's all here somewhere. Yeah, 50 inches. And this is 48 3/4. This is the piece that was left over from the other stuff that I cut, including a replacement upper stem. And that little piece is the piece from the leftover 2-foot. Plan A was and is to cut this guy in half and then glue it onto these guys once everybody's trimmed down to 4-ish inches. And you can see a lot of sapwood on this guy disappears. There's a little bit here. These are the worst of it, but this one has some cracks up top. So I'm going to try to get, if you look at the grain, I'm going to cut off as little as I can to get rid of the snipe, and then cut as much as I can to get rid of anything near the pith. And I can't see the grain as well on this one, but it's basically the same. I want to get away from that crack. So once that gets cut down, and just glue it onto there, and then cut the put it on get it squared off, probably on the table saw. I finally got the nerve up to figure out where to cut these guys in half, and that was based primarily on there's so much sapwood down at the bottom. It was even worse on this guy. So I needed to separate them because I have to take off. I need to take more on the inside of this one and more on the outside of this one. Move on to the table saw, and I've got to figure how I'm going to get a straight edge, and that's the current plan that we're working on. I'm probably going to have to put together some sort of sled, which I don't have at the moment, but we'll figure something out. Oh, there's the second one. My technique definitely needs some work. It's really getting gouged up when I put it through here. Here's the other one. But it should be fairly straight. I still need to take some stuff off the end there, but I wanted to take as little as possible, so now I can start looking at this sapwood, which is pretty extreme down at the bottom. And as I said, this guy doesn't have a straight edge. I gotta figure out what to do with him. This baby oh, look at that. I didn't even set the blade like that. It just stopped that way on its own. We managed to get through this 2-inch white oak. It struggled a bit. So I've got to figure out how to cleave this now. And beautiful wood. And then decide how much I want to leave. I may plane these some more to get them a little bit thinner so that I have a thicker piece to attach to them. But bottom line is these are 4.5 skosh over by 50. I've gotten rid of the sapwood out here. There's a little bit left here, but this is going to be the top, so I'm going to cut the rabbet here. So I'll get rid of any last thing. I wanted to get rid of as much stuff in the center, toward the center as possible. And this has also got some sapwood there as well. So anyway, that'll all get knocked out. You see, you can just see a little bitty bit right there. So that'll get knocked out when I cut the 3/4 wide by 1 inch deep or 7/8 deep rabbet. And so that means I've got to glue to these sides. And I do have a little bit more planing to do, I think. Anyway, progress, and it's starting to get hot. So, comment about this stuff is for the saw stop to work and not cut your hands off, cut your fingers off, or whatever. You can't have gloves on. So I'm not wearing gloves. Problem is, the edges of this stuff are so sharp once it's been cut, and the wood is so hard. I have to wear gloves to handle it after I take it off the saw. So just another complication. I was planning to rip some wood, and I've been looking at drift, and I know that drift is a problem, and we're not really set up exactly right. I haven't figured out the best way to sort drift out on this bandsaw, but it's disappeared down below. I don't know, I sawed a small piece of wood for, I don't know, several inches, and found out I'd drawn a straight line on the center of the piece of wood. Anyway, it comes from left to right as you're pushing wood through here. I tried a couple things. I tried to use the fence, but it didn't work at all. I've got to figure out, it's either I need to adjust the blade on the wheels, it's probably not riding on the wheels properly, or the table has to be, YouTube's full of a bunch of things. I've got to make more progress in that. So I figured out how to set this up, and I did a 1-inch cut with this short piece, and it cut fairly well, but it bowed pretty significantly. And so this is the remnants of the piece that was that I am going to use to glue on there. However, it had sapwood on one side, it had stuff too close to the pith on the other, and it wasn't straight. So I took this board, let's put this, the lighting properly. I took this board and, let me turn it around. So I got rid of the sapwood. So I had to adjust this down to, I don't know, 7/8, something like that. A little more, but so I said, okay, great. And I cut this, and the thing sprung. That one sprung. Well, this was twice as long as sprung twice as much. So I just flipped it over last night, face to face, or back, smooth face to smooth face. The cut edges on the outside. Can't really see that here. Go on this side. And so that's the inside portion. And I put it together overnight. So now the big reveal. How much has it sprung back? Yeah. So that yesterday was a huge spring, had a huge gap in it. It's actually opened up a tiny bit since I've just taken the clamps off it, but it's so much better. I mean, it was 1/4 of an inch or more wide in the middle. It's a huge bow. So clamping it overnight seems to do the trick, hopefully. Of course, I'm an idiot. This is the way they were before, back to back. Oh, there's only a little gap there. Well, guess what? There's a big gap. So, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now one of them straightened out a little bit, the slightly thicker one, but clearly they're not straight. I guess I should have expected this, but the question is how much pressure does it take to close them up? It's not that much, but they certainly need to be treated. I'd hate to put them on and then have the epoxy fail. Ah, yes, as my organic chemistry professor said, life is problem solving, as he assigned us the next night's homework, or the next day's homework. I sprayed both cut edges with water, kept the other faces dry, and clamped the hell out of them. I'll flip it over in a while. Probably gonna have to leave it like this for several days. Anyway, hopefully this will sort this out. I'm gonna have to leave this out. Therefore, I must move on to something else. Someday these bedlogs will be done. You shall be done, you shall not defeat me. I've gotten tired of messing around with these boards, so I'm gonna wet them down and bend the hell out of them for a little while. See what happens. Here are the two pieces that I resawed, and this one was pretty cupped, and so I took them both through this jointer and took off all the gnarly stuff from the saw, and I think I showed earlier the heavy clamping I did earlier today, and that seemed to work really well. These still have a little bit of tension in them, but they're flattening out very nicely. But then, so I jointed these, took the joiner to these, and this one is much thinner than this one. So I took and planed the large 8/4 pieces that I had, and I left a little more on this one, so they're both just a little bit more than 2.5 glued together, and use this. These are ready to, well, I got to scuff the surface with 80 grit sandpaper, and then do the same with the stem. So I think I'm going to try and glue all this stuff at the same time, because I'm using G-Flex epoxy, and I'm going to do it by weight, and it's 1:1 by volume, but by weight it's 2:1, and we'll do this right now. Here is the resin. 1 can weighs 2 pounds 12 ounces, and 1 can of hardener, should be the same volume, is 2 pounds 5. So, well, it says 1.2 to 1, but before I do anything, I'm going to sort this out. You know, even when you down, I'll have to read this in detail. Getting set up to do the epoxying of the bedlogs. These have been cleaned with isopropyl, or denatured alcohol, and dried with paper towels, white paper towels, it said, not laundered cloths. A whole collection of clamps that have been covered in tape. Probably more than I need, but and then I've done some calculations about how much to what the weights are. And I'm going to do it by weight, which is you do 1 part hardener, 1.2 parts resin when you do it by weight. And the problem is the stuff is so goopy, it's just by the time you put it into a separate container and then try to get it out, it's just not. For the thin, it would probably be okay, but for the thickened epoxy, no, I think doing it by weight's the only way to do it. Here, I mean, this is a little more critical than gluing 2 pieces of plywood together, so I'm trying to be a little more careful. At this point, I wonder if it wouldn't have been easier just to drive to Connecticut and get some full-size lumber, but anyway, we're here now. So, and then I got one of the 2 pieces or bedlogs set up. I don't have a whole lot of tension on these things. It's just, boy, this stuff is gnarly. Here's the leftover from the 2. It is, I have quite a bit left over, so I'm not going to use anywhere near as much when I do this last board. I'm just going to let these 2 settle, and then I'll come back and do this one later. But yeah, this is some gnarly stuff. I guess I'll breathe some fumes for a few minutes here. There we go. Just did it up the second board. The first one, the ones with the short clamps, actually the clamps had loosened up. I guess the epoxy must shrink a little bit. Anyway, so I tightened them up a little bit. I'm gonna let all this stuff sit till tomorrow. It's about I don't know, 9 o'clock or something at night. So we'll move on to shaping this stuff starting tomorrow and get that thing finished. And we can move on to cutting the rabbet and shaping the front edge of this. So my filming has become really terrible because I'm looking at what I'm looking at instead of looking at it in the camera. So it's, anyway, so there they are, the forest of clamps, and there's the stem. So it has been 18 hours since the stem and the bedlog with the short clamps were put together, and 10 hours since the second bedlog with the long clamps was put together. Directions say, I think it says 3 to 5 at 72 degrees is a workable bond, and then something like that. But it says 7 to 10 hours. Sorry, 7 to 10 hours for workable cure. I'll get the exact wording and put it in here. Bottom line is, it's been long enough to take the clamps off and see what we got. So we will deforest this mess. So I've managed to cut down these, I think they're down to about 4 1/8. I think they're both about the same. I trimmed off a bunch. This one is square. I used the saw stop, and I'm going to blame this on technique, and I'm not using a feather board. I probably should be, but this is generally nice and square. This one, it's got it's still not square. I'm really annoyed. I mean, it's hard to see right there, but there's and I measured it with a little Milwaukee angle measurement. So there it is. And then I go over here. And it's close. It's within a degree, but I would have hoped for it to be better. I'm not sure how much I really burned when I used the table saw the bandsaw last time, and so I'm gonna have to be very careful when I saw these things, and I'm probably gonna leave a lot to finish with the hand planer. Next step is to get these down to final dimension, and then cut the rabbet. And what I need to do is make sure that the side that is square is the side without the rabbet. And because I want a nice wide piece to go on the bandsaw. I may plane them. If I have enough room, I may plane them, get them nice and flat, and then I'll put the track saw on top of them and take it. But we're still in a voyage of discovery. So I added a featherboard, and when trying to get rid of these marks on the side, I think that was the side I just cut. It's a skim cut really works wonders as your final cut, which I'm out of space here, so I'm not going to do any more. These are all square. Finally, let's start again. These are nice and square. Yeah. Where are you? Where are you? Oh, there you are. So, can I see it? Yeah. Anyway, this is square. So, anyway, these are now square to the tops, which is this part. So this and this and this is a 90. Sorry, this is 90 and the bottom one's 90. And this is not, but I'm going to cut that away anyway. The same with this one. This is 90. That's 90. I don't care about that. So when I mark the top of these tops and push it through the bandsaw, making sure that the blade and the table are flat, I give myself space. I should not have a problem like I had before where I cut off too much wood, which I'm really gun shy at this point about this stuff. I am not going to plane these. I don't think. It depends. If I can cut the rabbet with the, so there goes the light again. Anyway, if I can cut the rabbet, so where's inside? So these are the inside space. So I got to cut a rabbet on these two guys. They're not quite the same, so it's a little hard to use. I might be able to shim it actually. So the last time I set this stuff up on the table saw as a table, nice flat table, and put the track saw on top of it, I was able to clamp. So I'm going to try to do that again. Before I break it down, one last comment. To get these, since I had problems with the edge of these guys, I used this low fence and a featherboard so that I'm pressing the bottom of the log. And I don't have some cantilever going on where the top of the board is riding on this and the bottom is riding on this and it gets pushed some way. So I'm pushing the featherboard, the bottom of the board with the featherboard on the bottom of the fence with the, this low fence. And that seemed to help. Whether it did help or not, I'm not going to proclaim, but it seemed to help. So I'm trying to set the depth. There, the top line is 7/8, the bottom line is 1 inch. I'm going to split the difference. Not sure I can do this with one hand. There we go. So anyway, we have, that's going to split the difference. It's going to be 15/16. I just don't like the idea of having 1/8 of an inch extra sticking it. It's not the trunk, it's the post sticking down below. So we're going to go a little deeper than I went last time. Not going to go a full inch, just a tiny bit less. We are. The bottom line is, this is how much. Let me see if I can. There we go. Again, top line is 7/8. Bottom is 1 inch. I'll split the difference. It was just getting a little bit too thin right in that end piece. I think we're down to something on the order of, come on, you piece of junk, what is it? That's one, that's about 1/4 of an inch at its thinnest. So hopefully that will, and it gets thicker from there. So that's, I just got to be careful. I don't want to bang around with that. But once it gets put together, it shouldn't be too bad. But again, this is just something else that could be in the plans a little bit more clearly. So here's the setup, similar to before, almost identical, except since these boards are not the same width, same thickness, I had to put some wedging underneath there. I had to put some stuff in there, a couple pieces of wood to separate these two, so I could have the clamp track available. Since I couldn't get this, again, this is set up on the saw stop table, I actually had to use this clamp that's holding these bedlogs together as the basis for this clamp over here. And this whole rig is clamped to the table with these 2 clamps over there, or 2 clamps on the table. There was a little more room because the handle's not there. When you put have a space like this in here, it's really critical to get there's rubber feet here. It's critical to get the rubber foot on top of the thing, the piece of your spacing, because if you try to adjust it, it was like binding on that piece of foam. Anyway, so there's the cut. I started to cut before I tightened the saw to the track, so I got a little bit off, but once I tightened it down, it fell right in line. And I went with 15/16, and there's the setup. I just went back in to get a cup of coffee and get my camera so I can film on my phone, and my sewing machine has arrived. This has been an expensive hobby. So now my last piece is off. I mean, this is how far I got last time without problems. Now, hopefully, by getting these, so I have flat surface on here and on here. That these two are parallel and square to this side. So, and then the same with the other piece. So it's going to go in with this piece, this side down on the bandsaw. I just completed the second bedlog, and this time I kept away from the line. There's some places where it's kind of close, but since the thing is square, it's off the line generally. It's kind of close right there. They're pretty flat. This piece is a little bit, still got to do some trimming here, but it's going to get cut off right here, so that end is a little bit, and it's still a bit proud of the line, which is how I want it. Same here. The other side is about the same. Thank God. So I'm going to sand this edge and this edge and probably the bottoms. Sand both sides. And then the bottom of the piece I just planed. There's some, you can see there's some snipe lines. And like I said, I think the final trimming of these will happen when I'm putting the keel down. It's within striking distance, so yay! Good God, I've been worried about these things. Hopefully we've gotten the bedlogs in too. TTFN.